Ahlul Halli wal Aqd are those people who form the Islamic governance and elect someone who is capable of governing the Ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A Majlis al-Shura is composed of people who have the traits of al-amana and al-ilm. Al-amana is trustworthiness and al-ilm is knowledge. But then Ahlul Halli wal Aqd is a group within the Ahlul Shura, the people of consultation, that not only have al-amana, they have al-ilm, knowledge, but they are also al-muta' عند الكثرة الكافرة من الناس, which is what they are obeyed by the majority of the people. So when they are obeyed by the majority of the people, when they select an individual from within the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as khalifa, as successor, then that person, by a binding ijma', a binding consensus, is deemed as the khalifa. Like Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anh, he was selected during the civil war, during times of insurrection, after the martyrdom of Sayyiduna Uthman radiallahu anh. Yet there were people who did not give the oath of allegiance to Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anh. Yet he is deemed as the fourth Khalifa. Why? Because this group, Ahlul Halli wal Aqd, the overwhelming majority of them gave the bay'ah to him. So even when Sa'ad bin Ubadah radiallahu anh initially did not give the bay'ah to Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anh, this does not in any way violate or discredit the election of Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anh as being the first Khalifa. But when I say the Sunni position is the correct position, what I mean by that is that the position of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is in fact the position of the Ahlul Bayt, the prophetic household of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From that election of Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anh, what the Shia fail to mention is that at certain times Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anh intended to leave Al-Madinatul Munawwarah, firstly to fight the rebels, those who prohibited or those who failed to give the zakatul amwal, to the Khalifa. Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anh intended to go out and fight them with the armies. And during the Khilafah of Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu anh, he intended to partake in the expeditions against Ar-Rum wal-Faris, the Romans and the Persians. But Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anh and Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu anh, both of them prohibited him from doing so because they needed him in the Majlis al-Shura. Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anh had a prominent role in the Majlis al-Shura. The Majlis al-Shura is from two commands or two mentions of Shura in Al-Quran al-Kareem. In Surah al-Shura and Surah Ali Imran, there are two mentions of a Shura, that the believers, they make a Shura amongst them, and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is commanded, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, do a Shura amongst them. What does a Shura entail? The body of consultation entails those judgments of Al-Quran al-Kareem which are qat'i al-dalalah, and of course Al-Quran al-Kareem is qat'i al-thubut. There is no shura in those matters because they are decisive. Similarly, within the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that which is qat'i al-dalalah, decisive in what it means, there is no shura in this. The shura is in those things which are not qat'i al-dalalah, that a mujtahid, a person who exerts his efforts in determining the facts needs to determine that from Al-Quran Al-Kareem and the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But at the same time, the matter which is investigated is not clearly expressed in Al-Quran Al-Kareem or the Sunnah. In such a case, the ruler, the hakim, he takes a shura, consultation. And it is not limited to the body of consultation in the Khilafah. Ulama must also take consultation. And if the person is not a mujtahid, then the consultation becomes binding on the person. But if he is a mujtahid, he can oppose their consultation. But Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu an, he had Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu an as one of the main people for consultation. This relationship between Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu an and Sayyiduna Umar and Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anhum ajma'in, when we investigate this closer and we analyze this, it totally debunks the narrative of Ar-Rawafid that claim that there was some discord between a Shaykhain, a reference to whom Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar al-Faruq radiallahu anhuma were referred to as the two venerable ones, a Shaykhain. The claim that these two shuyukh, venerable people, that they had discord with Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu an, but the type of discord which entails that they had different beliefs is totally discredited. Of course, disputes occurred. Even between companions who were very close, they disputed in the Majlis Shura. You read the accounts, they would dispute. One of the members of the Majlis Shura would present a view, another one would oppose that. These were issues of ijtihad, issues of exerting their efforts in order to reach the truth. In the time of Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu an, when the likes of Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah radiallahu an, the conqueror of Syria, when he wrote to Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he recommended that Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu an travel to Jerusalem in order to meet the patriarch, because the patriarch of Jerusalem had made a condition that we will give the keys of the city, but we will only give the keys of the city to your Amirul Mu'mineen. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu an conducted a Majlis Shura in which Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu an recommended that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu an does not travel. Yet Sayyidina Ali radiallahu an, when he gave his advice, he said, it is better for Amirul Mu'mineen to travel up to Jerusalem, because if you do not travel up in the northern direction towards Jerusalem and meet the patriarch and take the keys of the city, then maybe the Christians will regroup and the patriarch may call for help from the Roman Byzantine Empire based in Constantinople. So Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu an followed the judgment of Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu an. And this is the meaning of Aqdakum Ali, that Ali radiallahu an was the best of judges from amongst the companions, alayhim ridwan. This is why his leadership in Majlis Shura was given such importance by Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Additionally, you have many cases when the woman, she was pregnant and she admitted to adultery, and the judgment was given that she should be stoned. But when Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he gave his decision, or you could say his judgment, to Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu anhu, saying she should give birth to the child first, then raise the child. And he does istidlal from Al-Quran Al-Kareem regarding the birth of a child and the rearing of a child being hawlain 2 years. Meaning his istidlal, which is his inference from Al-Quran Al-Kareem, how he inferred the rulings, which is ijtihad. Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu anhu said his famous maqula, his famous statement, Lawla Aliyun la halaka Umar. If it were not for Ali, Umar would have perished. Additionally, what is not mentioned that the daughter of Sayyidatuna Fatima alayha salam, Sayyidatuna Kulthum alayha salam, was married to whom? Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu anhu. And when Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu anhu celebrated this, he celebrated it by saying that on the day of judgment, Yawm al-Qiyamah, all nasab, all lineage will be finished, except the lineage of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. So he intended thereby having a link in terms of the lineage with the Ahlul Bayt, with the family of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. But what people seldom mention is that he had two children from her. Sayyiduna Zayd radiallahu anhu was the son of Sayyiduna Umar and the son of Kulthum radiallahu anha. He would say, Ana ibnu khalifatain. I am the son of two khalifas. How? He is the son of Sayyiduna Umar and the son of Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anhuma. And then what people do not mention also is that he would receive yearly 200,000 dirhams from a person who is known as Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. Muawiyah radiallahu anhu would dispatch 200,000 dirhams to this grandson of Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anhu from Sayyidatuna Kulthum radiallahu anha wa alayha salam. So the stories of the Saqifah, when the oath of allegiance was given to Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, initially by Sayyiduna Umar, then people from Al-Ansar, the Al-Aws wal-Khazraj, they gave the bay'ah. They were Ahlul Halli wal-Aqd. The majority of them gave the oath of allegiance. And later on, Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anhu gave the oath of allegiance also. But this disproves the conspiracy theory of the Shia Rawafid, the conspiracy theory that Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anhu was designated as what? As Al-Khalifatu bila fasl, or as they would say, Al-Imamatul Kubra. What is Al-Imamatul Kubra? Al-Imamatul Kubra, the very concept, forms the very foundations of 12 Shiaism and all the sub-branches of Shiaism, or Rawafid. That is, that according to them, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam stipulated, yani Nassa, he stipulated that Ali radiallahu anhu would be his successor, bila fasl, without a gap. And they claim, some of them would claim that this was a part of the invitation or the call of the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam from previous nations. Disproven, of course, by Al-Quran al-Kareem itself. On further investigation, there is no sound, authentic report to demonstrate that the previous Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam called for Al-Imamatul Kubra of Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu an and his progeny from Sayyiduna Al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu an, and also including Sayyiduna Al-Hasan radiallahu an. Remember, they limit the A'immatu Ahlul Bayt to the 12. So starting from Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu an, and then from Sayyiduna Al-Imam Al-Hasan radiallahu an to Sayyiduna Al-Imam Al-Mahdi or Al-Hasan Al-Askari, whom they refer to as Al-Mahdi. They state that within these 12 Imams, the Al-Imamatul Kubra, is stipulated, starting with Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anhu, that it's mansus. Mansus entails that it's an article of faith. If you reject this article of faith, you are out of the fold of Islam. This is why they add the phrase Aliyun Waliyullah. So when they read Kalimatu Shahada, we Sunnis, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we say La ilaha illallah Sayyiduna Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They add the phrase Aliyun Waliyullah, which entails Al-Imamatul Kubra, as an article of faith. What implications does this have? Some of the implications entail that the companions alayhim ridwan rejected en masse, or the overwhelming majority of them rejected an article of faith by selecting Sayyiduna Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu as Khalifa through Majlis Shura, through Ahlul Halli wal Aqd, which we know otherwise as Ijma'. This is why Ijma', consensus, is a source of law specifically for Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. If you notice the Qadiani sect, who are known as Mirzaiya, they refer to themselves as Ahmadiyya. You will notice they reject Ijma'. Some of the Neo-Zahiriyya, they reject Ijma', consensus, as a source of law. Even though Ibn Hazm himself accepted Ijma', he wrote a book, Maratibul Ijma', the levels of Ijma'. But the Neo-Zahiriyya, they reject it. So the implication of that is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stipulated Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu an as a successor, as al-Imam, and then the rejection of that article of faith entails that the overwhelming companions alayhim ridwan, they left the fold of Islam. Of course, what they project in history is that a group of people formed the Shia of Ali radiallahu an. So they say Sayyiduna Salman al-Farsi, Sayyiduna Ammar bin Yasir, Sayyiduna al-Miqdad, and a few companions, they comprised of the early followers of Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anh. There are a few internal contradictions within this claim. One of the internal contradiction that arises from this is that why was Ammar bin Yasir radiallahu anh the governor under Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu anhu of Al-Kufa? Sayyiduna Ammar bin Yasir, this is a historical fact, a great companion of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was killed, and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Taqtuluka al-fi'atu al-baghiya," the rebellious group will kill you. So when Amir Muawiyah radiallahu an and his group, they rebelled against Sayyidina Ali radiallahu an, he was killed. Of course, al-fi'atu al-baghiya entails al-hukm al-fiqhi, a legal judgment regarding that group in that particular time. But Ammar bin Yasir radiallahu an was governor under Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu an of Al-Kufa. Similarly, Sayyiduna Salman al-Farsi radiallahu an was governor under Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu an. Then we observe the relationship of Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu an again. If the claim that Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu an burnt down the house of Sayyidatuna Fatima alayhi salam, if this claim, this conspiratorial claim, were true, it has many ramifications regarding the personality of Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu an. This claim disparages the personality of Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu an. It undermines the personality of Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu ta'ala an. That if you say Sayyidatuna Fatima radiallahu anha, her house was burnt down, the door was broken, meaning they dramatize these events every Muharram in the majalis. Like some of our speakers, public speakers also, they will quote mawdu'at, forged hadith, talk with emotion, incite the emotions of the crowds, but not looking at the subject entirely from all facets as well as objectively. That if Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu anh, his wife was martyred by these companions and his child was martyred, na'udhu billah min dhalik, a conspiracy theory akin to the claims of David Icke that the moon is an alien construct that beams down images and a reality, akin to such conspiratorial theories, because the ramifications do not fit in. How do they not fit in? That then this same Ali radiallahu anh is marrying off his daughter Kulthum radiallahu anha, which then they deny, because they have to rewrite history. They cannot accept this claim. Or they deny the other daughters of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They claim Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam only had one daughter. Why? Because the historical fact is two daughters were married to a companion by the name of Sayyiduna Uthman radiallahu anh. This is why he's known as Dhul Nurayn, the possessor of two lights. He married one daughter, she passed away. He married the other daughter, later she passed away also, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if I had other daughters, I would marry them to Uthman. There are contradictions within this claim that If this story were true, remember the citations of Al-Tabari, because there are many claims within the Shia public that are made. For instance, simple claims like they say Sunnis, they say radiallahu anh, which means may Allah be pleased with them. Therefore, this entails they do not believe Allah is pleased with Ahlul Bayt for certainty. Of course, this is false, because radiallahu anhu means Allah is well pleased with them.